The Yankees are swept by the St. Louis Cardinals. This is the first time the Yankees have been swept in a three-game series all season long. This is the Yankees' first five-game losing streak. In fact, it was their first four-game losing streak until they lost the final game of the series. The Yankees are definitely in a bad way. I've been saying this now for a bit. The Yankees' overall record, crazily enough, is still 70-39. It just goes to show, what they have been doing. All those close games that they were winning, it feels like they're losing all of them now. It's not as if the Yankees are just getting slaughtered game in and game out. They're losing games a lot now. They're 12-18 their last 30 games, and they're losing a lot of close games. And I guess that's sort of law of averages. But at the same time, they're just finding ways to lose. Whereas I said for the longest time they're finding ways to win. It's the opposite now. And just the way you look at it, it's been about as bad a post-trade deadline as you could really imagine. The Yankees are 0-5 since the trade deadline. So the Yankees won against the Mariners in game one. Trade deadline happens, and they've lost all 5 games since. And just in terms of this series, Jordan Montgomery, goes 5 scoreless because, of course, and Frankie Montas basically implodes, goes 3 innings and gives up 6 runs. So again, I'm just speaking in terms of just the overall feel. A lot of things can change. And Montas, to be fair to him, there was a death in the family. He hadn't pitched in July 26. Like, I'll give Montas a pass. But still, it was a bad first start. No doubt about that. And the Yankees, hitting in the clutch has been an issue. Certain players have really, really struggled. Now, some of them, we end this episode, we sort of end the series in a way where, a lot of those players that struggled did have a final good game. So, if I had recorded this episode after game 2, the tone might be a lot different for those specific players we'll talk about. But what needs to be discussed as well, Anthony Rizzo, the back spasms acting up again. And Rizzo was out the entire series. And in my opinion, I wouldn't be surprised if he misses the first game of the Mariners series. To me, he wasn't even available. They're optimistic about it. If I'm being rational, I think he'll be back by the end of the Mariners series, but I don't think it's a lock that he's back for game 1. So there was at times good pitching, there was at times good hitting, but they didn't really connect at the same time. The bullpen has really, really been a weak spot. The pitching overall has been weak, and the hitting at points has been good, but I really feel like there's been a lack of clutch hitting. Really, for Brian Cashman, there's got to be a lot of, there's going to be a lot of criticism towards him, and some of that deserved. Some of that it's way too soon to evaluate some of these trades. But look, they were questionable. I mean, the Montgomery for Bader trade was questionable at the time. I think I'm actually more sort of hopeful on that trade than most. But I understand that there was definite risk. For me, I'm such an anti-Hicks fan that the idea of Harrison Bader, the idea of anything to sort of take Hicks out of the lineup, I'm all for. So I'll admit that that's a big, source of my reasoning. But, the Yankees, they really do need to get Rizzo and Stanton back. That's first and foremost. Rizzo, I think, Stanton, you hope can somehow make it back by the end of the road trip. He will not be with them in Seattle. Maybe he'll somehow be back with them when they go to Boston. But this is a tough road trip. You're already 0-3. Seattle's not going to be easy. The Yankees just lost 2-3 to Seattle, and Boston's always tough. I know the Red Sox are struggling, but the Yankees, they've had their problems at Fenway Park. So I don't necessarily see the wins, coming really in any sort of frequency anytime soon. So, look, the Yankees still hold a half-game lead on the Astros, but that is, to me, only a matter of time before the Astros pass the Yankees. I really, really believe that. And as far as the Major League lead, there's 2 months left. As we've seen, it's a long baseball season. But the Dodgers are 6 games ahead of the Yanks, and I would expect the Dodgers to finish ahead of the Yankees because the Dodgers have a better team than the Yankees do. So for the Yankees, the goal remains the same. You got to finish in first in the American League. And that will not be easy by any stretch of the imagination. And now the Yankees are 9.5 games ahead of the Blue Jays. So that's the first time that it's a single-digit games lead in a long time. So the Yankees, this is a rock bottom for the season. I know very early on, there was a lot of sort of panic after the Yankees lost that series to the Orioles 2-3, which in hindsight doesn't seem so bad with how the Orioles have really come on strong. But that was also admittedly very early in the season. In terms of, if you take that away, this is not good. Not so much the standing side of it, even though, like I stressed the fact that I really think it's important for the Yankees to finish first in the American League. It's just they're finding ways to lose. That's all. It's the opposite of what we had saw over a month ago, because it's been over a month now that the Yankees have been playing poor baseball. Really have. So let's dive into this series. And game one, look, Nestor Cortes, what's good about Nestor is there's a level of consistency where even when he's kind of doesn't fully have it, he's really able to still put up a pretty good stat line. Goes 5 1/3, gives up only one hit. Only one hit, 4 walks is really where Cortes goes wrong. And I didn't think it was his best night, but Cortes, really gave the Yankees a good chance to win this game. And for the Yankees, there was definitely opportunities to maybe score more runs. It didn't happen. And ultimately, Clay Holmes does blow this game in the 8th inning. So Clay Holmes, the struggles continue. I thought he actually looked okay. To be fair, he looked good. There was some unluckiness. But at the end of the day, the results are the results, and Clay Holmes doesn't get it done. Paul DeJong, really the stars of the series for the Cardinals, as I see it, were Nolan Arenado and Paul DeJong. Arenado, you'd expect that. Paul DeJong, you wouldn't expect that, but both were sort of the stars offensively for the St. Louis Cardinals. And in this one, the original lineup was supposed to have Aaron Hicks on the bench, and I was excited about that. It was supposed to be Hicks on the bench. Benintendi was actually originally going to be batting 9th, interestingly enough, but everything kind of gets maneuvered around. Rizzo's out of the lineup, and it's the return of Matt Carpenter. Like I said, there was interesting storylines. Montgomery, Montas' debut, and Matt Carpenter returning to St. Louis. And Matt, deserved a better fate statistically in this series. I really thought that he performed very well. And, really, if it wasn't in St. Louis, he could have had a couple of home runs this series. But St. Louis is a pitcher's park, and Carpenter fell just short in a few instances. But in the first inning, Josh Donaldson had a really good game one. Josh Donaldson was sort of the producer behind Gleyber Torres, who really, really struggled in game one and game two. Just to jump right into that, Gleyber, game 3 turns it around, gets 3 hits, but, really Gleyber, until that point, had not looked good. A lot of strikeouts, just, when it goes down to the count quickly, and when he does go down to the count, he's just swinging at anything. So bad approach by Gleyber, streakiness there. But anyway, Donaldson bails Gleyber out with an RBI double. Now, if it was someone faster than Matt Carpenter, that could be a 2-run double. It's only an RBI double. The Cardinals tied up in the second, and it would be a 2-out RBI single for the veteran Yadier Molina. Yadier Molina ties it up at 1, and where Cortes goes wrong is the 2-out walk to Paul DeJong. Extends the inning, and that you couldn't, and it was an 0-2 pitch to Molina. So Nestor, not too sharp in that second inning, ties it up at 1, but the Yankees respond right away. And again, it is Josh Donaldson after sort of a similar situation where, Carpenter gets a hit, Gleyber strikes out, but Donaldson RBI single makes it 2-1. Yankees would hold that lead for a while and extend. In the 5th, you get, actually, to be fair, it was lucky, but it was a Gleyber Torres RBI single. Runner on third, it was an infield sort of off the pitcher. It was fortunate. And I should mention, Dakota Hudson is out of this game early in the 5th. Cortes Hudson was the game to win. It's the on-paper advantage for the Yankees, and Hudson didn't look good, but he was able to kind of just survive. And then Palante comes on for the Cardinals and kind of keeps the Yankees at bay. And so it's 3-1 at this point. And into the sixth, Cortez, it's a one-out walk to ball Goldschmidt. And you could argue that this was a quick hook for Cortez. You could argue that this was a quick hook. And Albert Abreu comes on it, and that's questionable as well. The roles in this bullpen are really, really hard to define right now. The pecking order is difficult to see. They got to figure that out. But Albert Abreu comes on in a spot that was probably too high leverage, if we're being fair. And Albert Abreu, and look, there's a lot of Abreu haters out there. I'm not one of them. The stuff is there, but the consistency isn't really there. And so he gets into a little bit of trouble, and Abreu ends up giving up Cortez's run. It's an RBI single for Tyler O'Neill. Scott Effross finishes the inning and strikes out DeYoung. And Effross also pitches a scoreless seventh. So this was a good outing for Scott Effross, I thought, although he struggles in game 3 of this series, as in most of the relievers. So it's 3-2. And again, it feels like the Yankees had chances to maybe tack on. They don't. And in the bottom of the 8th, it's Clay Holmes. Very unlucky. It's an infield single for Nolan Arenado that, leads to stuff. Then with 2 outs, he walks Tyler O'Neill. That was big. That was big. And that's been the problem for Holmes lately, is the walks. And then it's first pitch Paul DeYoung, who going into the at-bat had really good career numbers when Clay Holmes was with the Pirates. DeYoung, it's what would be a game-winning 2-run double for Paul DeYoung. Makes it 4-3 Cardinals. Clay Holmes fails again. That's been a thing lately. And then Ryan Helsley comes on in the 9th. You get a 1-out walk for DJ LeMahieu. And LeMahieu's been walking a lot. And Locastro pinch run. Unfortunately, Judge pops out. And then, fittingly almost, Matt Carpenter ends the game, grounds out. So the Yankees fall short. A game which they should have won. A game which it felt like they should have had a much bigger lead than they did. They lose the game. And I knew that was trouble right there. I just knew that was trouble. That was a game that slipped away that the Yankees should have definitely won. And now we head to game 2, and it's Jordan Montgomery versus Domingo Germán. There's not a whole lot to really speak on in this game. The Yankees had 2 hits. 2 hits. And Jordan Montgomery, only 1 strikeout, of course, against Gleyber Torres, because that's what he had been doing. But Jordan Montgomery goes 5 innings, and it goes scoreless. It's just, you knew that would happen. Like, you knew that Jordan Montgomery was going to get the job done. It's that simple. And this was a weak lineup. Game 2 was a pretty weak lineup. Like, you had Aaron Hicks batting 6th, Tim Locastro batting 8th. You had Higgy in there, but to be fair, Higgy actually was quite serviceable and had one of their 2 hits. But the lineup in this one felt a bit weak. Benintendi was on the bench against the lefty Montgomery. So, and Rizzo's already out. So, the lineup feels a little bit underwhelming. Anyway, though, the first inning is where the action happens. And, Gleyber grounds into a key double play. Montgomery, we know this from his time at the Yankees. He struggles in the first, but Gleyber bails him out with a key double play. And at the bottom of the first, this was avoidable for Domingo Germán and the Yankees. The Yankees have shown a stubbornness and unwilling nature of just putting a guy on first base. The 2 players that will hurt you in this lineup are Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado. Goldschmidt gets a 2-out double. I'm not saying you intentionally walk Arenado, but you pitch carefully. And this was a long at-bat. This at-bat goes 10 pitches. You should have eventually just said, look, let me throw my best pitch out of the zone. If it's ball 4, it's ball 4. Nolan Arenado gets an RBI single. So that's the one bad part. To make matters even worse, Aaron Hicks in left bobbles the ball. And we'll talk about this again in game 3. Aaron Hicks bobbles the ball, and so there's no play at the plate. If he gets that, I think you have a definite play at the plate with Goldschmidt. It doesn't matter. It's an easy run. Cardinals make it 1-0. And then, of course, Tyler O'Neill grounds out. That was what should have been first and second 2-out, but instead it's 1-0. That's the one run that is scored in this game. And Montgomery was kind of laboring early on. And I should say Montgomery would leave the game technically early, although I think they might have taken him out them anyway due to cramping. It was really hot in St. Louis. But the Yankees really don't get a whole lot of anything going. But look, Germán does settle down. There was a nice out at the plate, a nice relay from Locastro to Gleyber to Higashioka, so it could have been a little bit worse for Germán. But look, 5 innings, 1 run. You're going to take that all day long. And in the sixth, Jordan Hicks comes on. There's a LeMahieu walk, but Donaldson does strike out. LeMahieu did move over to second for the wild pitch, and Donaldson was a rough night for Donaldson. And you're just waiting for Donaldson to really just have a consistent hot streak. It's just not happening. And Donaldson strikes out. Ron Marinaccio comes on in the sixth and gets a couple of outs. Then he walks Goldschmidt, and Marinaccio after the game would be sent down. You feel bad for him. Him and Clark Schmidt deserve better, but because they have options, they get sent down. So I hope we see Ron Marinaccio soon. It's a tough fate, but hopefully he'll be back sooner than later. Lou Trevino comes on and strikes out Arenado, which he would do in the third game as well. So good. I mean, Trevino, he's looked good. I think in terms of sort of seeing the future of this bullpen, maybe Trevino ends up being an impact guy in the late innings. But Hicks, with that 102 mile per hour, I mean, they have a couple of really crazy firearms in that pen with Hicks and Helsley. It's pretty impressive. But Genesis Cabrera, the lefty, comes on, finishes out the seventh. It would be Trevino finishing out the seventh. And then top of the eighth, you get a leadoff walk by Connor Falefa. And then Benintendi pinch hitting against the lefty Cabrera, a tough spot. And Benintendi pops out. Then Higgy lines out a really nice play by Nootbaar, the right fielder, who made a lot of good defensive plays all series long for the Cardinals. And so, it remains 1-0. DJ grounds out, and we'll talk about DJ more in Game 3. DJ has been very good, but his numbers running in scoring position have been bad. They have been bad. He draws walks, don't get me wrong. He draws walks in all situations, but he is not coming through, which is a shock. In the 2019, in the 2019-2020 DJ LeMahieu sense, like that was a guy who came through time and time again. Now, though, and I want to separate these two things. DJ has been in a hot streak, but he really has not come through running the scoring position. No one is really talking about that, and I think that needs to be more of a conversation. We go to the eighth. Chapman, avoids a leadoff walk because there was a pickoff, so he's lucky. He gets out of that unscathed, and then he gets a couple of outs. So Chapman, pitches a scoreless eighth. And it looks like Chapman's working his way up the pecking order. It scares me, but with all the other struggles in the pen, it is what it is. Then the former Yankee Giovanni Gallegos comes on and pitches a 1-2-3 ninth. So the Yankees have already lost the series, and now we'll talk about them getting swept. So in Game 3, Frankie Montas versus Adam Wainwright. Yankees got to Adam Wainwright. Plain and simple, they did. They really got to Adam Wainwright, but Montas was just not up for the task. And let's just get right into this one. There was a lot of action here. In the top of the first, you get a sac fly by Matt Carpenter. One of the few guys in this team who can hit a sac fly, Matt Carpenter. But at the bottom of the first, struggles for Montas. And you get an RBI single by Nolan Arenado. Ties it up at 1. But the Yankees, they fight back. You get a rare RBI single for Aaron Hicks, which I feel like I haven't spoken enough about him. I've only spoken about his fielding. Aaron Hicks, that snapped an 0 for 32 slide. Aaron Hicks is just not the guy you want in there. I can promise you that. But it was a good game for Aaron Hicks offensively in Game 3. Aaron Hicks with an RBI single. Eventually, after LeMahieu, again, I mean, it's glaring. There are so many DJ LeMahieu struggles. And Ed Hickox, I'm just going to say it now, Ed Hickox was awful the whole play up for both teams, Yankees and Cardinals. He was worse for the Cardinals, and then he was really bad for the Yankees. Ed Hickox, one of the worst games by any home plate umpire all season. That's saying a lot, because I've seen a lot of bad ones. But Aaron Judge bails out LeMahieu after LeMahieu strikes out. It's a 2-run single for Aaron Judge, makes it 4-1. Donaldson strikes out to end the inning, and that was big because Montas struggles in the bottom of the second. You get an RBI double for Dylan Carlson. You get a sac fly by Paul Goldschmidt, where if Aaron Hicks comes up with this cleanly, he may have a play at the plate because Yadier Molina is one of the slowest players in the game. No offense to him, but another Hicks miscue. It's just defensive. I mean, there's just not enough there for me to really justify Aaron Hicks playing. I understand there's injuries, though, and I think the ultimate plan is for him to be on the bench, but Hicks fucks up again. And, of course, the inning extends, and Nolan Arenado hits a 3-run homer to give the Cardinals a 6-4 lead. The Yankees would never take the lead again. They would tie it, though. Montas goes 3 innings, and then Albert Abreu pitches a scoreless 4th. In the 5th, the Yankees get a rally going, and eventually, after Chris Stratton comes in for Wainwright in the 5th, Marwin Gonzalez strikes out looking with the bases loaded, and this was a ball. And to be fair to Marwin, who hasn't really produced a whole lot lately in sporadic playing time, it was a ball, called the strike. Then LeMahieu, who also, there was a pitch that was very questionable, he strikes out as well. So DJ really struggled, in really big spots, even though he had 3 hits, 2 doubles, and a homer. So the stats look good. But then Aaron Judge does it again, doing what Aaron Judge does. 2-run double, ties it up at 6. Aaron Boone would be ejected on the next batter as Matt Carpenter. Ed Hickok's really bad at bat with Matt Carpenter. So Boone had enough. And it's 6-6. Bottom of the 5th, Abreu stays on, and that was a mistake because Paul DeYoung does it again, RBI double. Gives the Cardinals a 7-6 lead. Jonathan Loaizaga runs into some problems, some definite problems. He's not the same pitcher anymore. He just isn't. You get an RBI single by Tommy Edman. Makes it 8-6. There's a couple of walks there. Lou Trevino comes on. Bases loaded walk to Paul Goldschmidt, makes it 9-6, but he does strike out Arenado to keep the Yankees in striking distance. And in the 6th, the Yankees would score a couple of runs. An RBI single by Jose Trevino makes it 9-7. And then with the bases still loaded, Marwin Gonzalez grounds out. It's hit softly, so a run scores, makes it 9-8. Jordan Hicks comes on for Chris Stratton, and DJ LeMahieu, who hit it well, grounds out. And so the Yankees still are down 9-8. Now, let's give credit to Wandy Peralta. Wandy Peralta was the one reliever that really excelled, so to speak, and he pitches a scoreless 6th and a scoreless 7th. We head to the 8th, and Scott Effross comes on. And Scott Effross, is almost able to sort of get out of a jam, but it doesn't happen. This was the dagger. Paul DeYoung, who had an amazing series, hits a 3-run shot off of Effross, gives the Cardinals a 12-8 lead. In the 9th, which was almost frustrating, DJ LeMahieu homers. Like, DJ, you couldn't have maybe done something more productive with the bases loaded with less than 2 outs twice, and then and then it was really mainly those two. But LeMahieu homers, makes it 12-9. The Yankees would lose by that score. They are swept. In a really disappointing series. So now the Yankees head to Seattle, who they just played last week, who they just lost 2 out of 3 to. And you get a couple of pitching matchups that are exact same games in which the Yankees lost both of them. Jameson Taillon, who really needs to rebound against Logan Gilbert. That will not be easy. And then another pitcher needs to rebound, Garrett Cole. It's Cole versus Luis Castillo. So that sort of prime time matchup, part 2. We'll see what Cole does this time. And then the last one will be Nestor Cortez against Robbie Ray. So this will not be easy at all. Seattle, really a team that has pitched well. The Yankees did do well against Logan Gilbert at Yankee Stadium. I'm not expecting that same result here, but we'll see what happens. Yankees swept. They dropped to 70-39. 5-game losing streak. They really got to turn this around because things are really heading in the wrong direction.